6:48. Now, you may have heard all the kerfuffle in Ipswich with the lady said to be pregnant who was asked to lift her top up in the shop. She was accused, I'm told, incorrectly of shoplifting. Scott Driscoll's the Executive Director of the Retailers Association. Maybe Scott can shed some light on what the sort of guidelines currently are. Hello, Scott.
G'day, Smithy.
Yeah, you will have read about this story. I presume it's one of your members?
Mate, I have read about it, and I've got to say that the approach taken here, depending on how much pressure was put on that particular customer, is probably not to the extent that people should necessarily go.
Yeah, it does seem a bit rich, doesn't it?
Mate, it's, with regard to detaining customers or putting undue pressure on customers, it's not the way to go. One, because oftentimes it's dangerous for the shopkeeper or the staff as well if these people are, have ill intent and they're actually up to something. And fortunately, in this case, as I understand it, this was just a genuine consumer who unfortunately was put through something unpleasant.
Oh, it'd be hellish. What's your advice to retailers when they have a reasonable apprehension that someone in their shop has knocked something off?
Well, look, first things first, they've really got to actually put a sign at their front door that gives their patrons the option to know that they do reserve the right, for example, to inspect bags. I mean, that is one of the first things they need to do, so that it is indeed considered a condition of entry. So, and in doing that, if you do suspect someone, don't go sort of trying to physically detain them at all. Don't even go close to that. Certainly, if you are inspecting bags, make sure you've got a witness to it. Don't go sort of rummaging around in there so that you then become the victim of allegations and so forth. So, I mean, it's a very delicate point, and anyone who sort of wants to turn into a hero in these situations, because a lot of them are a lot more pressing and dangerous than this one actually was, but it's not a wise move for a retailer to take on such a big risk.
Yeah, Paul Tully from down in Ipswich Council wants laws to stop those sorts of searches. Do you think laws are needed?
No, look, I think, Paul's probably a little bit extreme in calling on that. I think what's already in place are plenty of laws to protect consumers against this sort of thing, and indeed I think what might need to be in place is more clarity as to what the rights of the retailer are, because then they'll be bound by them. I mean, we've seen in other areas recently where there's a lot of grey area on what retailers can and can't ask people to do when they enter their store. So, this is just another one of those things you've got to work through, but unfortunately we've had politicians create our laws, not real people.
Yeah, too true. Well, one real-life thing with shops with me, the little night owl around near my place puts photographs of people that, from the video camera that they believe have shoplifted in the place, and that's sort of the name and shame thing. What do you think about that?
I wish they wouldn't, only because, I really feel for these retailers that are going through this, but what they're doing is exposing themselves to all sorts of claims of, allegations, false allegations, unsubstantiated ones. It's very frustrating. Shoplifting costs consumers ultimately over $1 billion a year, because that's what it's costing retailers, and it all gets passed on. So, I think what this needs to go back to, though, Smithy, is politicians need to create the right laws that are going to penalise the shoplifters that do get caught, and that'll be the best dissuasion to the ones that would be down the track. But unfortunately, at the moment, in Queensland, it's a little more than a slap on the wrist, but not much. And in New South Wales, for example, it's not even dragged through the courts. We're downgrading this sort of thing, and this is where we're getting.
Theft is a serious issue. It should be considered theft, and a lot of these people are gangs, can carry it, last time I checked, up to 10-year jail term. Nobody seems to get anything other than a slap on the wrist.
No, and when you beyond Night Owl, for example, or those sort of convenience stores, the theft that goes on, we've seen a lot of it lately. There's credit card fraud, there's shoplifting. This is a lot to do with organised crime these days, particularly at the higher end, and it's a very real problem that's making everyone pay more at the checkout for everything. Geez,
you raise a good point, Scott. We have, as a community, my sense of it is that we have sort of mentally downgraded it. We said, it's just shoplifting. Even the word shoplifting, it's theft, it's stealing.
Absolutely. This is somebody's livelihood, and I think the people that are perpetrating these crimes, one, they think they'll get away with it or only have a slap on the wrist, but I don't think when people walk through the door of these shops that they realise that there are families and homes and kids' school fees and everything that are being supported by this business. These are family businesses in the main that we look after with real people behind them, and they're employing local people. And I mean, there's a lot at stake here. This isn't just some faceless product that they're grabbing and snatching. I mean, it's really affecting people's livelihoods.
But to me, the thing in my mind is that it is a line, it's an absolute line that you cross, and if you cross that, you become a criminal. You are a crook. You know,
and that's the message that should be sent.
Steal, yeah.
That's the message that should be sent, and it needs to be sent by the penalties that are enforced. And at the moment, I think the government, I'll go out on a limb and say, is complicit with this to some extent by the fact that they are not enforcing strong enough penalties and insisting that courts hand them out.
When one of your members, detains, or whatever word you want to use, has a person whom they believe or know to have stolen from them, you ring up the police. Well, is it your experience that the police will attend every incident?
Most of the time the police absolutely try to do the right thing, and unfortunately they're under-resourced as well. Yeah. And again, that's not their fault, that's just a practical reality of some government decisions. But look, police are generally very good in these things, and if you've actually got good surveillance evidence, they'll be as supportive as they possibly physically can be. Yeah.
Well, it is something that you would expect. In fact, we know from the literature, the criminology literature, that there is a strong correlation between economic downturn and increased crime, theft and stuff. So it's a biggie for you guys to get support from the legislators on, I would have thought, Scott.
Mate, it is, and as I say, I think as things get down the track, and they were going this way already, we really need some people to step up in the parliaments and basically insist that, you do the crime, you do the time, and let's get fair income about it. I
think, mate, you're an odds-on cert to get that backing from Vaughan Johnson, the LNP bloke. You heard him speak on Law and Order. He's a real old
I know Vaughan from way back, and he doesn't. He calls a spade a shovel, and he will go down and sort this out. So let's hope there's more Vaughans running around that are prepared to really back the good people. Yeah, election campaigns are notorious for the old Law and Order, and it typically is an election issue. In this instance, I think you as the head of the Retailers Association, you've got a very good point. We need to make it very clear this is criminal behaviour. Theft is a crime. People should expect a bloody strong penalty for it. Absolutely, and I mean, Vaughan's opposite number, mate. I think it's Judy Spence.
Yeah, that's right.
She needs to be basically singing from the same hymn sheet on this, and bipartisan support.
Yeah. Look, one last question. It is a bit loaded. Has Anna Bligh and her government gone soft on shop theft?
Oh, look, I think it's probably without much consideration, I would say yes. I mean, you've only got to look at the statistics out there. Anna needs to take this as a serious issue. She needs to send some pretty strong messages, and she needs to resource the police better so that it acts as a dissuasion. I mean, it's look at what Rudy Giuliani did in New York. I mean, zero tolerance gets results, and let's get a bit of that in here.
Good on you, Scott. Thanks for speaking with me, mate.
Thanks, mate.
As always, Scott Driscoll. School's a spade, can't ask for more than that. Thanks for your time, mate.